You going to work? Alright, it says I'm live, but it looks like the video is black. So, let me know in chat if there's actually issues or if I'm just talking to no one. I'll give it 1 second. Okay, looks like we are actually live. Sorry about that, guys. So, sorry about Friday and last week. I was thinking a bunch of streams. Been just absolutely nuts with business lately. Second, my dog does in fact have lymphoma. So Friday was her first chemo treatment, and her lymph nodes are like literally 8 centimeters. Now I can barely feel them, and it's only been 4 or 5 days. So pretty good results so far, but you know, cancer is cancer, and it's going to take at least 6 months for her to, you know, fully go through the chemo. So it sucks, but she's going to live longer than she would have otherwise. So anyway, sorry about your dog. Yeah, me too, but you know, there's not much I can do about it other than pay for the treatments. All right, let's talk about dick. So, Hitman, stupid question. Flaccid is the same as soft size, just about. I'm getting the wrong size. So there's stretch flaccid, which is what a lot of research studies go off of to begin with. And then there is regular flaccid. So like you just put your hand in the penis, your penis in your hand rather, hold it, measure it parallel to the floor. That's going to be your flaccid size. And even then, some research studies like measure it as it's pointing down to the floor, which I think is cheating. But you just got to look at the research study you're comparing to. Okay, City, how many feeder sets can you do? 3 to 5 inches of mercury if you don't do working sets. I mean, 3 to 5 inches of mercury is just not even going to be enough for a proper feeder set, more than likely. Like 5 inches of mercury is probably going to be the bare minimum. And I know I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but you can, if you're not fatiguing the tissues, you can basically do it indefinitely, but you will probably run into some kind of pelvic floor strain. And then Grand Sprinter account, sorry about my dog, I already got that one. Can't pump for longer than 10 minutes without getting a lot of edema. I currently pump 2 sets, 5 minutes daily, have been pumped for about 2 years. Also tried, what? Any recommendations? Okay, so first 10 minutes without it. It's okay to get some edema. It just can't be like to the point where it's literally like when you're flaccid, your dick is disfigured. Like, and when I mean disfigured, like there's gonna be like 2 different pouches on the side of your dick. It's gonna look lumpy and everything else. So that's like significant edema, but like some people are just gonna have a relatively high edema response, and you just gotta work through it. Like edema used to be highly encouraged, like with fetish pumping and stuff, and these guys did gain long term. It's just like it adds a variable that makes it hard to track if you're actually like growing the blood holding tissue versus the lymphatic channels, for example. And glad to see you're back. I didn't miss that many days, did I? If I did, it was never the intent to miss that many days, but you know, life gets in the way. I am working on bringing on Hank's video editor in some capacity, so that way I can just talk into the camera and he can do the rest, which is going to help me a lot. But like, my God, I've been working 12 days straight from 7 to 7. It has not been fun. Okay. So could you elaborate between measuring for length gains in months, 0 to 3, versus gains in 4 to 6 months? I was confused by your book's description. Well, if you go to, what is it? The 3-way size change happens, and that's grammatically incorrect on Reddit, the post. I do a pretty good job explaining like how gains come in there too, just because I have so much more practice saying it. So like in your first 3 months, you'll probably gain anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to like upwards of 1/2 an inch of just erection quality, and it just depends how bad your erection quality is to start and a bit of luck. And then from 4 to 6, we move more into like the midterm gains, which is going to be like shape change, minor increases to erection quality at that point, and everything else. That's going to be probably another 1/4 of an inch. So most guys are going to probably gain about 1/2 an inch in length in the first 6 months, up to maybe 3/4 of an inch if they're lucky. Then long-term gains probably start around 6 to 8 months in, and that's only going to be about 1/8 an inch per month because that's actual tissue development. But that is going to be like long-term next 4 to 5 years, constant gains. Like, there is no limit to how much you can gain, just how fast you can gain it with the proper breaks and everything else. Okay, Zero, hope all is well. I see my girl twice a week and have an average 3 on, so I need to take a rest day the following day. If your erection quality is zapped, probably, but like, I don't see the point, unless like you're doing some really athletic sex, then I don't really think you need to take a day off. The only time like I probably needed to take a day off was like when I first lost my virginity, and like, let's just say we were both very raw. But, you know, actually that reminds me, Grant's burner account, I'd be interested in editing if you'd like. So like what I actually want to do is turn these streams into like highlight reels on a separate channel. So Grant's burner account, I can join the Discord and then hit up Red Maroon, and then we can work something out that way if you actually are interested. And then Hitman, not gonna lie, I started to miss edema even though I've been getting good sessions. I still feel like that it wasn't the occasion the session went. Okay, so like edema is nice, but it's addicting, and then it can actually get in the way of games, right? Because you are as big as fucking possible, but it's not necessarily your own tissue. So, let's see, is there any way to turn on Do Not Disturb? 1 second, guys. Is it focus mode? Nope, we'll figure it out. Anyway, point being though, edema is nice, but it's fake. It's cheating. So don't get too addicted to it. Then 921, when should you start doing feeder sets? 3 months in. You could honestly start doing feeder sets the first couple weeks. Like, let's say you do 1 set the first 2 weeks just to get used to it, see if you have erection quality issues. And then 2 and 3, you can add in another feeder set. No erection qualities, add another one in the following 2 weeks, and then you're at the full feeder set workload. You just got to make sure your erection quality can handle it. Red, do not use Teams while I am streaming, but I just need to close the app. That's what all I need to do. Dup. All right, you guys can use Teams again. Go for it. Double Dragons Collector. After pumping, I can't keep my sides once I'm out of the pump. Is that a sign of overwork? No, it's totally normal, because think about it. Your tunica is overexpanded and it's going to go back to its normal size. It's like deflating a balloon. So like what you can do, and I've been having some varying degrees of success with this, is like on your last minute of your set, you put a cock ring over your pump, and then as you take the pump off, you flip the cock ring over the lip of the pump, and then you basically keep your pump size for that entire 10 minutes after the fact. Now, don't do this for more than 10 minutes at a time, because like there's a really good chance of lymphatic buildup and hypoxia, and I definitely noticed an increase in discoloration when I started doing it this way, but that's one way you can get around it. Am I looking at the wrong chats? Yes. Okay, did I do Tanner? What can I do to prevent blisters on just the tip when pumping? I have a slight curve, so the curve touches the specific spot inside the pump that makes it uncomfortable. So is that like an actual blister, or is it like a pock mark? Because the blisters are going to look like the blisters that you get on your feet from not wearing socks with shoes. So what you are describing is some kind of abrasion, and you're just going to need some kind of lubricant. Worst case scenario, you're going to need to go up in cylinder size to compensate for your tube, or I mean for your curve. But like an actual blister from length would, okay, let me rephrase. An actual blister from pumping is going to be obscenely high pressures, or you're actually doing length pumping. And as in length pumping, that's when you like pack your entire dick into a tube that's too small for it and then try to stretch it out that way. That is not a very good way to gain length, and it's a very good way to get blisters, because all that pressure builds up on your skin instead. Okay, final Blackberry. What if we're getting 2 to 4% post-session elongation 8 weeks in? Is a forced 1 week deload still necessary? That's something. on paper, no, but it couldn't hurt to take a break, right? Like, it would be more so like to prevent it from happening, like the need for the break. It's just like, um, I should take a break, so I'm going to take a break. But I'm not a guy that really takes breaks all that often unless I'm forced to. Like, not with PE, but like everything else. So I get the reason why you wouldn't want to take a break. And then Blackberry again, if the full routine, main extending session, and all day stretcher, feeder sets for pumping, diminishes EQ, would you rather take out the ADS or feeder sets for pumps? Or reduce training days from 6 to 5 or maybe 4? So, if you're going for length, I think feeder sets are too potent for girth to keep in a length routine at this point. And that's just because one of the people in my gainathon keeps gaining girth, and we removed the feeder sets from his protocol maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but he's still gaining girth. So it might just be him. But in general, it might be a good idea to limit total pumping time, because I think dicks actually, how would you say, respond better to chronic pressure than chronic length. So I would take out some feeder sets. Okay, Hitman, I noticed I almost got into 8.5 on the pump with 40 kilopascals, but out of the pump I don't see much change. So like you're using, what is that? If your natural erection pressure is about 15 kilopascals, we are looking at an increase of over, what, 3 times its natural pressure. So like obviously your dick is going to be much bigger when it's under that much pressure. You're not going to be able to do that naturally. And Mad Hunter, why does he not see my messages? If you use any kind of word that is not YouTube friendly, so anything over like PG at this point, it will not show up. So get creative and we can go from there. All right, Blackberry, is post extension 10 static minutes pumping really that much better compared to 5? 2 minute sets intervals when bone press direct length growth is the main priority. Man, you're getting really deep into the sauce. If midshaft erect girth is a priority, would the latter be better? Well, if you're going for girth itself, you want a whole completely different routine. I think static is slightly better long term for like shape change. I think intervals better for actual tissue growth. Blood vessels need that chronic dilation to grow better, so if we're trying to fill in the sausage for length, we want to do longer sets in the pump rather than a lot of smaller sets. Mr. Steve, I switched from a Bafme to 1.5 and 5 cylinder pump. Apparently my base girth is bigger than I thought. Should I stick with this or go up to a 2.0? So like I've been jamming my 7-inch base into a basically like 3/4 an inch too small for it. Not 3/4, like a half an inch too small for it. For the past 3 years, I'm still gaining mid shaft. That's what it's doing. It's basically shape training just the top half, so that's the part that's getting thicker. Because like I don't really need a base girth that thick at this moment, right? So you're probably fine as long as you don't get like really purple during it. You're good to go. I think I have an upwards curve, says Blue Fisher, when fully erect or close to full, and it makes me lose about a 1/4 inch in length. Is there a way I can get rid of this curve and straighten it out, and how? So if you have an upwards curve, that is like a cheat code for sex, because like you're massaging all the sensitive bits for women. I'm not sure about men, but I would think so, because like the prostate. Actually, no, I don't know if that would be beneficial for... Okay, I'm not going to think about gay sex too much, but it should be beneficial in some positions for men as well. So an upwards curve, again, is going to hit all the erogenous zones. That half an inch loss in length, most studies actually straighten out the D when they measure it. So like you can straighten out your D and get it flat. So like I am usually like, honestly, like 8.5 when I measure the without fixing my curve, and then I'm like over 9 when I fix my curve. So it's fine, dude. Trust me. It's a lot better to have a curve than not. Leo thank you for the super chat and the banana. Let's see. I'm new to PE. Should I start with girth first or length? I just bought the new Apex extender and I have a pump. Thanks for all you do, by the way. You are welcome. So what I typically recommend is doing what you're closest to in your goal first. So let's say you are 6 by 5.5 and you want to be 8 by 6. I would recommend doing the girth first because that's going to be an easier goal to hit. And then you can do length after that. The only thing you have to worry about is having to do a little bit more work for length because you're a little bit more thicker than normal then. That's how I would do it. If you got the Apex and pump, at that point, it might make more sense to do length because you just spent a lot of money on the Apex. So that's how I would do it. And I think I recognize your name from the orders. So thank you for getting from us as well. Okay. We did that one. We did Steve. Jamar, how's the collagen realignment routine going? Yielding promising results. So, as I alluded to at the very beginning of the stream, my life has been fucking crazy for the past like 6 weeks or so. So I haven't been able to like dedicate as much time to PE as I wanted. So I'm actually doing some retention work right now. And then I'll have a good answer eventually. But like I'm still just over 9 erect. And, you know, like I really don't need any more than that. But we'll see what happens. I'm hoping in like 5 to 6 months we have a decent idea. And then Mad Hunter, when does Grove done down there? I'm 17. So like he's allowed on here red, but like he can't technically go on the Reddit legally because like we're not really showing anything explicit. But anyway, growth ends anywhere from 13 to 30. And you're most likely going to end up somewhere between 15 and like, let's say 19 is when you stop growing down there. I had a friend that basically was an adult at 13. And then I know guys that were late bloomers that continuously grew into like 24, 25. So like, it really depends on your genes and I can't give you a good answer, but just assume you're probably done by the time you're 18. Thistlewick. What will be the difference between the Apex 25 and the Full Metal Apex? So, Full Metal Apex, as the name denotes, is going to be fully metal. It's going to be able to do more weight, and the housing is going to be different for the springs, and that's why I can handle like higher tension springs. But other than that, like we're talking the difference between like 20 pounds versus 35 pounds off the top of my head. They're pretty much the same advice, except like this is the Rolls Royce versus the Cadillac, if you will. This is Steve. I got a vacuum hanging stuff. It's a bit of a pain to get on. I got some wicked edema after 30 minutes of hanging too much weight, too long in the vacuum. Any tips? So like, you should get some edema. It's just how this goes. As long as you're not getting blisters, you're good. And what's going to happen is your glands are actually going to grow. And like, that's why I have like pretty big glands. They were big naturally, but now they're just like on another level at this point. But as long as it's not hurting, you're good to go, dude. I wouldn't worry about it all that much. Okay, we did that one. How common is petechia? Petechia is the red dots that you get from pumping or any kind of like hypoxic work. It's actually pretty common to say almost every guy's gonna have some kind of petechia at some point. It's just guys that are sensitive to it are gonna get it a lot more often. Like I used to get it a shit ton with the bathmate. And really the easiest thing to fix it is pump up slower. So like if you're using an air pump instead of pulsing up really fast like this, pulse every second, you know, just take your time getting up there. L-citrulline or any kind of vasodilator 20 to 30 minutes before pumping is really going to help. And then just monitor your pressure. For example, I won't get any petechia at like, let's say 8 to 9 inches of mercury, but if I go past 12, that's a really good chance of me breaking a blood vessel. And that's what causes petechia. Lord Thistlewick, will you sell the Apex ADS on PMP? You offer PayPal and cheaper shipping international, so please do this. So I will try to get Perv to let me sell it at some point, but like, he's already doing me a huge favor by letting me sell his product on my site. So like, I'm going to let him do his thing. And then honestly, it's in my benefit to let him sell it on his own because then he can work out any like production issues right away. And that way I get a better version of the product. But I've been harping on Perv to let me sell his shit for quite a while, and we're finally moving on it. So I'm happy nonetheless. Okay, we did him. Your favorite computer brand? I hope it's not Apple. I fucking hate Apple. And it's more so like they're too simple. Like, so I used to run Linux because I'm a software developer. I don't particularly like any computer brand because they all have issues. I prefer to build my own because then I can pick and choose what companies I want to support. But like for laptops, it's usually Dell, and it's because I have a store credit card with them. And like their Dell XPS line is pretty good normally, so like that's normally what I get people or myself. Hank said that a 2-hour hanging session is max, is a good routine for only wanting length, but I thought you said 45 minutes of an Apex is more than enough. So like, as you just said, 2 hours maximum, right? So like, you can safely do up to 2 hours of hanging in a day, but most people are going to gain very well between 30 minutes and an hour or 45 minutes. So Hank's going to agree with me on that. It's just a matter of how he worded it at that time. Okay, Nacho, is the material in mint sleeves the same material as the ball stretcher in your big box pack? It's silicone. I don't know exactly what material our ball stretcher is, but it's probably another type of silicone, just a different hardness and everything like that. There's a bunch of different types of silicone, and you can add additives to it to make it more stretchy or more robust or give it color. I can't remember the exact number hardness for mint sleeves, but I'm also not sure if I can even like mention it here. But point being, it's not the same thing off the top of my head. Oh, and hello, Waking Dream. Tanner. Then it's abrasion I'm experiencing when I'm already using a tube size bigger than recommended for girth. What's the difference between pumping for length versus girth? So like, for length, you're literally shoving your entire dick in the tube and squeezing against the sides, and then that pressure builds up, and the only way you can relieve that pressure is by stretching the dick, right? That's length pumping. With a girth, you have room to expand, therefore the dick's going to expand to fill the vacuum this way because it's easier for your dick to do that. For you, make sure you're using lubricant, and I mean like a lot of it. Like massage oil is pretty good, coconut oil is pretty good, and just keep it liberally coated, and it should be a lot more comfortable. KB, I love my upwards curve. My girl says it hits the G-spot a lot easier. It also makes it a lot easier to avoid cervixes. Like, if you get beyond 7 inches, it is very, very helpful. If I extend every day, should I take a break every 4 weeks instead of 6? Your stretch flaccid would tell you that. So like if you stop seeing progressions in stretch flaccid week to week, then it's time for a break. I've noticed that if I do PE every day, I need a break sooner. So like that'd be the 4 weeks. But if I'm doing it like 5 days a week, then it's gonna be closer to 6 weeks. So like it just really depends on you and your own like recovery. Hi, BD. Hello, Tony. What's a good temp gains routine for those special nights? So, like, dude, you can get ridiculously big and relatively even shaped if you just pump and then not play with it too much. So, like, I was able to get to like well over 7 inches mid shaft and then like 8.5 base girth the other day by just pumping for like 30 minutes with heat and then using a cock ring and then doing like fluff up sets every 30 to 60 minutes or so. The edema stayed even, the expansion stayed even. It led to not the best sex though, because it was just too big at that point. So typically speaking, I would recommend doing like your entire length routine and then pumping, let's say 30 to 40 minutes before showtime. And that's gonna have you at your biggest length and still look natural. What's up, BD? Orders on his way. Good. If it was Leviathan, my dad might have packed it. Red's been doing a pretty good job of getting everything out pretty fast for Peak Mouth Physique. He is getting swamped, though, lately. So, Red, if you need to find another shipper, let me know. We can work something out, okay? Is working length and girth at the same time detrimental to each other? Or will it just take longer to see progress from each? So, like, the stretch of the tissue mediates where the stem cells go. They migrate towards the stretch. So if you're doing this and then doing this, they're going to kind of stay put, right? Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like you're not going to get like optimal gains in that time frame, in my opinion. Additionally, it is much more satisfying to gain an inch in length in a year than it is to gain a half an inch in length and a quarter of an inch in girth. And it's just much more apparent to me. So like, to me, I'd rather gain an inch of length in a year or a half an inch of girth in a year versus, you know, half of both. I can handle it for a bit. About the orders, says Red. Doing it one at a time was not efficient. I know, so you're welcome for helping you fix it. Now just imagine doing 50 at a time like I used to. I'm not telling you to do it because I definitely made mistakes, but you get the point. Okay, how long should you wait to go up in weight for compression hanging? Too many weights in that sentence. So, it really depends if you're gaining or not. So, like, if you're gaining at 5 pounds for 2 months straight, there is no reason to continuously go up in weight, or even try to go up in weight. Why did you make that an alarm? Anyway. So, like, for me, if I'm still at 9 pounds and I gain a quarter of an inch in that like 2 month span, right? I'm not going to try to do 10 just because like it makes sense to do 10. I'm going to continuously exhaust 9 pounds of work until it stops working. And that's going to avoid the strength adaptation. So like I can't tell you when is it a good time. Generally speaking, a pound a month is what you want. J-Best, good to see me. Is it normal for your length days to be shorter while doing working sets than the rest days? Your length days to be shorter while doing working sets? For girth, yes. Not necessarily for length. That sounds like you have like a pelvic floor like retraction. So I couldn't tell you exactly why that's happening, but that's, I wouldn't say typical. If you're gaining though, like don't worry about it. Blue Fisher. I've been doing manuals for a while. Which device is best to start with for length work? So like there's a few things you can do. I always recommend people getting a penis pump right away just because it makes like erection quality improvements come in hard and fast if you haven't gotten it already. And then I tell most people to start with like a vacuum hanger or like a compression hanger because it's so simple. A vacuum hanger is a lot more cost effective. Like I bought my first vacuum hanger for like 20 bucks off of eBay and I gained an inch with it. I now sell the same exact stuff on Peak Mouth Physique. So like there, it's effective. It works. It doesn't need to be like, you know, the $400 LG hanger. It's going to do the same exact thing. But vacuum hanger is very easy to start with. And then if you're looking to make it a little bit more streamlined, I would get something like the Apex extender or like another high tension extender because like it's going to allow you to sit more comfortably while doing your length work. What about pumping after hanging with the edema? It feels like a no. I mean, like, if you want to get, like, some super big glands, that's how you do it. And, like I'm just speaking from experience. You could wait, like, an hour or two, let that edema subside, and then come back if you want to keep, like, relatively normal-sized glands. But, yeah, like, it really won't impact anything if you pump up with already swollen glands, except your glands will get just bigger faster. Okay, Thistlewick. Will the tension scale on the full metal be made out of brass? Yes, and then, let's see if I can grab mine. It's right here, because I used it today. And then the next difference, and this is going to answer Zode, the 2.0 and full metal are going to be different products. So, like, you can see how this is flipped compared to the other version. So like the heavy part would be this way, and then that led to like some jostling with the springs that led to some accuracy issues. They fixed that on the 2025 version and then the full metal version. But it's going to be mainly just this, but all metal. So this is going to be replaced with all metal. That's the entire thing. So it's literally Apex 2025 full metal edition, and then the Apex 2025. It's like buying up a car trim at that point. So like you get the SC and the SC Plus, or like I don't know many car trims at this point, but you get what I'm saying, right? Why is my BPL shorter than my bone press stretch flaccid? How can I pump? Can C-rings and pumping help? That's completely normal. Like right now, I'm probably about of a 1/4 of an inch delta between my stretch flaccid and actually rec size. And then the longer I do PE, the longer that delta gets, or the bigger that delta gets. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If it's like, let's say, over an inch though difference, then you probably want to focus on your erection quality. And then that's when you want to get into pumping and everything else more specifically. All right, guys, just so you know, I have a hard stop at like 2:58 because I have a business meeting at, what's his name? I have a business meeting exactly at 3, sorry. Should not have checked my phone at that time because I have a bird brain right now. HK, I'm 7 inches non-bone pressed, 5 in 5 1/4 girth. Goal is 7.5, between 5 in 3/4 and 5.5 girth permanently. I don't want much more than that. What's my timeline? So you want to gain a 1/2 an inch, and then you want to get a 1/4 inch in girth. Like, dude, you could literally get that in like 2 or 3 months with a bit of luck. I don't want to promise it, but like, realistically speaking, if it's just erection quality improvements and shape change stuff, that's going to be like 6 months from my understanding of PE. And then boom bull stick. You showed how to avoid You showed how to hold back skin when doing manual stretches to avoid skin migration. How can you avoid this with extending or hanging? So like the extender is going to hold your skin back for you, right? Because it goes here, and then the skin is literally stuck back here, right? So it's going to pull it taut while you stretch. For hanging, all you got to do is like cup the sides with your offhand. You could also look into like some, what are they? Like BDSM straps to like put like a cock ring, like a literal metal ring around your dick to pull the skin tight. But like, that's the only thing I could really think that would work for hanging. The Massive Novelties ADS could double for that, but I'm gonna have to talk to Perv to making like a specific device for that. Double Dragons collectors. Is vascularity after pumping a sign of gains? Vascularity after pumping a sign of gains. I wouldn't say it's a sign of gains. It's a sign that you don't have a lot of edema. But if like that vascularity keeps improving week to week to week, then you are on the right path. Wait, hold on. I give you DM. Hi, BD, bless you. Where are your genetics from? Are you an ancient Greek Macedonian? No, I am very Irish and Scottish, all right? Bit of British, a bit of German, and a bit of Slovak. Actually, decent bit of Slovak, but I am very far from the Mediterranean. I just tan very easily because I'm allergic to the sun. Okay, did that one. BD, I was consistent with PE, but got really sick. Should I still do PE while sick, or just let it rest and start again when I'm feeling better? The most you could do is maybe like light pumping while you're sick, just to keep the tissue stretched out a bit. But like, you don't want to overwork the tissue because your body is going to be prioritizing fighting the infection, and the healing response is on the same inflammatory pathway, right? So like, you are going to basically break down your dick while your body is busy doing something else, and you won't be able to like properly heal from PE, and you could actually lose size this way. And I think that's why I lost a lot of size during COVID, because I was literally breaking down my dick while I was literally fighting for my life with COVID. So light pumping at most. maybe some massaging. City, should I do 5 or 10 minutes when the same LBS as growth is stimulating? I'm not sure what LBS is. Okay, pounds. So should I do 5 or 10 minutes when this with the same poundage isn't as growth stimulating? So hold on. Should I do 5 or 10 minutes with the same pounds isn't as stimulating? So like the more sets you do in general, the more growth you can generate. Just because like growth factor is released at the point of load. So the more often you load it, the better. So like if we're doing an hour total, 12 5-minute sets is going to be more effective than 6 10-minute sets, just on growth factor release alone. But if you like stack it like I do with 10 1-minute sets at the beginning and then 5-minute sets following, that's probably going to have the most time efficient release of growth factor. So that way you're not hanging for an hour. It's more likely going to be for 30 to 40 minutes instead. DB, why is girth so difficult to gain? So like girth is there's a lot of variables to it is the best way to put it. So like, for example, you have to worry about lymphatic buildup instead of blood vessel development. You have to worry about enough pressure to cause the tunica to expand and dilate without overstressing it. And then you need to make sure that you get the shape change as well. So it's not necessarily that it's difficult. It's just, there's things that trip up a lot of people if they're not careful and they're getting the wrong information from somewhere else. Ugh, sorry, I had to sit up because I'm like falling asleep here. Adam, I've been doing vibration extenders for 5 to 6 sessions only for 10 minutes. Then continue 20 to 25 in 5-minute segments. I should aim for in total time. So like start with 10 minutes for the first month and then go up to 20 minutes in the next month. And then the following month you can do upwards of 30. But like that might be overkill because like I'm hitting most of my fatigue in the first 20 minutes with extending with vibrations. So that's what I would start out with. I wouldn't really worry about total time, just worry about your fatigue rate. And then ideally what you would do after is some kind of retention. So that way you actually get like the shape changing aspects. And that's what I'm doing right now. Big Mo, if you could create an extending and pumping routine both using vibrations, how would you do that? I know it's better to focus on one, just curious. So like, I had decent success actually doing like, let's say 5 to 8 pounds with extending, no vibrations, okay? For like an hour straight, no sets or anything like that, where you're literally doing something called stress relaxation of the tissues. I don't know if that's actually going to cause growth, more so just stretch out the dick to its maximum length. And then we are going to do vibration pumping, preferably like intervals, anywhere from like 2 minutes to 5 minutes. Vibrations at like 10 to 20 hertz, maybe 30 if we're feeling adventurous, for 20 minutes. And then that's going to stretch out the dick a shit ton while causing overdilation. And then what you can do on top of that is feeder sets with no vibration, AM and PM. And that's going to basically maximize your current size while stimulating for growth and getting all the fatigue that you need to grow. I did this mainly for girth, but I put on maybe an 1/8 inch in length in this time and like literally a 1/4 inch of girth at the same time. Don't know how much of it was like return to form. And I don't know how much of it was like just chronic edema and inflammation, but like there was fast improvements when I did this. So Brutal Life. What are your thoughts on using H100 topical gel for PE? It's been clinically proven to transdermally penetrate, remodel the tunica, increased stretch flaccid by 22% in 6 months. Was this in a rat model? Then that's one thing, right? I actually had someone that I talked to in this field, okay? And he said that that gel did not work for him whatsoever. And he probably did it for 3 or 4 months. So like to me, it's BS. If it worked, we'd know, and it'd be probably being sold by, you know, Pfizer or something like that for dick strengthening or lengthening. When you do manuals, you got to use one hand at the base of the skin and the other to stretch But with hanging, you don't gotta use something to hold the base. So like you should, but it's just very inconvenient. It's the same principle as elongation of the shaft, but not elongation of the skin. So if you pull the skin tight, you'll have a better result. Blue Fisher, all right, a vacuum extender, it is. So is it possible to sit down while using a vacuum extender, or do you have to stand up? But like, I primarily wear mine seated. The best part is like you don't even have to take it off to go from seated to standing. You might just have to adjust the tension a little bit. Oh, vacuum hanger. Then you can do it seated, except you gotta sit a little funny at the edge of your chair like this and like hunch over, and it could give you back issues. But like you can do it standing too, but like most of us are gonna do it seated and then probably need a chiropractor in 3 months. How many centimeters of in-device strain should you aim for? It's not so much a hard set in like centimeters, it's 2 to 4%. So like if you're 20 centimeters long, you want to be 22 to 23 centimeters inside the device. So like again, it just multiply it by 0.02, and like that's going to be like the bare minimum of strain or fatigue in this case that you would need. So 0.4 would be what you want to be in device. So like that's what you would use. And then Boombleskid and Reddit, it's I always find something, right? So not to be a D, you're doing lovely and is very impressive, but you look like you got a fair bit of discoloration. Always been like that, or can you point to any particular PE method? So like I'm only bringing this up because like they used to say I was measuring wrong, and then they used to say if I lost 30 pounds, my dick would look a lot bigger, and I measure right, and now I lost weight, and now people only talk about my discoloration. But the main thing that I did wrong is that I never took breaks between pumping sets. And like, basically, since I could never let that blood leave my D, it left hemosiderin staining. And like, all I have to do is speed up how fast the skin cycles through itself. So like if I do skin peels for the next 2 months or so, I will fix that discoloration. But like all it takes is one misstep and I forget to like come out of the pump after 5 minutes, and like this discoloration is probably going to come back. So to me, it makes more sense to have a 10x7 horse cock that's a little bit black, and then take, you know, do my victory lap with my huge cock, and then fix the discoloration after the fact than chronically trying to treat it. Everlasting, is it a better place your motor vertically or horizontally to your willy? You want whatever gives you the most contact to your dick, and most of the time that's going to be vertical. Horizontal is actually just going to like sit on the device like so. So you're just going to be bouncing off the apex and not actually transferring that energy. The energy transfer is what's magical about the vibration. So if you're not getting direct energy transfer, it's not going to work. So sitting on top of the springs, not going to do it either. But if you have a small enough motor that you can turn horizontally, it really doesn't matter. The stem cells don't know what axis of positioning they're in. All they know is that they're being stimulated, and that causes them to go crazy. Okay, Nacho, would you recommend a C-ring or a sleeve for, or an ADS for retention? How long can you wear a cock ring all day for? So don't wear a cock ring all day. So like if you're doing retention for girth, your best bet is to pump up often throughout the day. Wear a cock ring for 10 minutes after your session. Take the cock ring off, and then what I've noticed is like your tunica relaxes in that bloated state. So that way it stays bigger than baseline practically all day. It's just not fully engorged. But that's kind of like what we're going for. Then I recommend an all-day stretcher because like you can actually dial in the tension that you want. So that's going to be about 1 to 2 pounds. A sleeve can work. I just noticed it's just hard to keep on, and it can get pretty uncomfortable if you're not careful. Okay, and that was my 15-minute notification for that meeting. Can I fix my curve using manuals? I have a left curve and pull to the side. Sorry for the right, or sorry for the bad English. So like whatever way your curve is going, if you bend it to the opposite direction and hold it tight and straight out for an extended period of time, will fix that curve. It's literally that simple. Most Peyronie's disease treatments do something similar. So they'll break it down a bit with a little bit of pumping, and then they'll do an all-day extender wear. So anywhere from 4 to 6 hours is what seems to be the sweet spot for curve correction. And that's going to literally pull your dick straight, and then it'll heal straight. Mr. Green. Opinions on weighted hanging. Like, it's probably the most cost-effective way to gain length because it only takes one device, and then weight can be anything from bottles of water to like barbell weights. So that's going to be the most effective. Now, progressive overload techniques with hanging are a bit overstated, meaning like you don't really need a lot of weight to actually grow your dick. Like, I know people that can do like 40 pounds of compression hanging, but like I'm almost positive if they just stuck between 10 to 20 pounds, they would have had the same results, if not better results. Tanner. Will being on tier T help my PE journey any? So I've been on tier T for quite a bit at this point, or like quite a long time at this point. And I don't think it really made my gains all that much better. It just made sure my erection quality was constant, and that on its own can help PE, but it's not like it's going to take me from gaining a half an inch a year to 2 inches in a year or anything like that. It's just going to make my baseline more stable. Getting bigger. Is clamping sets, 6 sets of 5 minutes effective as 3 sets of 10 minutes? So 3 sets of 10 minutes is actually going to be pretty stressful because that's a lot of hypoxic buildup. If you're trying to mimic pumping, you want to do the 5-minute sets, and since you're doing so many more chances of expansion with clamping that many sets, you're going to break down more tissue, and therefore you're going to get more fatigue, which is going to lead to more growth. Nacho, can a higher frequency vibration help with collagen breakdown? So higher frequency can lead to more tissue degradation, but it's going to be more so like the amplitude of the wave and how much force is in the wave that's going to cause more tissue breakdown. So like I used to recommend like a massage chair engine, fucking overkill, and that like led to like some loss of sensation for me after a bit. It came back obviously within like a month or so of stopping the use of it, but with the smaller motors I don't have any loss in sensitivity, but I'm still getting roughly the same results as I did with the bigger motor. So it's not even so much about how much tissue you can break down, more so like you can loosen up the tissue so that way the growth factors are released and the proteins are then produced by the stem cells. Acid. How can masturbating affect games? So like you can masturbate probably once a day without impacting PE whatsoever. You could probably even do it twice a day without it impacting PE whatsoever. It's just when you get to the point where it's chronic masturbation where you can cause pelvic floor fatigue. So like, let's say you can probably masturbate, it's going to be more of a time limit how much you can masturbate, more so like how many sessions you can do in a day. So like if you only do 20 minutes of masturbation a day, that's going to be your safe limit for PE. Less is better because you probably get a lot more nocturnal erections and erections throughout the day when you don't masturbate, but it's not going to necessarily equate to better gains. Chronic masturbation is called gooning. So there's chronic masturbation, and then there's gooning, which is addictive masturbation, right? I jerk it relatively frequently. I just have a high libido, and I don't consider myself a gooner, but I do masturbate quite frequently. I used to goon back when I had depression, but that's a whole different topic. Let's see. Okay, guys, I gotta head out in like 10 minutes, just so you know. BD, since I started PE, could you tell me after how many weeks, months I should see gains? I don't want to waste my time. If it doesn't work, I need to change something. So like, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to actually see changes on the roller, but you should see vascularity improvements and like density improvements within the first month. Fully activated. I saw your demonstration video on P-Hub a few days ago to start incorporating some exercise and see how it goes. The important thing is consistency. Like, again, you're not going to build big biceps in just 2 weeks. It's going to take literally years for your biceps to get to, like, you know, big size. And depending where you are with PE, it's going to be the same thing. So just trust the process. Should I use the cock ring every day, or is it overwork? Cock rings are pretty safe long term. It's not going to be overwork unless you're chronically jerking while you're wearing the cock ring. Let's see. What's better, 6 sets of 5 minutes throughout the day, manual stretching, 2 sets of 15? You probably want to hit your fatigue at one point in one session. So, like, I'd rather have you do, like, let's say 30 minutes in one session and then do intermittent stretching throughout the day. That's maybe only a minute long compared to like 6 5-minute sessions stretched out throughout the day, because you need to cause the growth factor release, but you also need the shape change, and that's going to be 2 separate, like, training styles. And then if we just use a massage gun on our hand, it would mimic vibration, right? No. So a massage gun is a lot longer of a stroke length, and it's more isolated into a single session or piece of tissue, right? A massage engine like this is about 3 inches long, and that's going to dissipate all that energy in that 3-inch space, right? So, like, if you're 5 inches, you're practically covering your entire shaft with this. If you're lucky like me, it's going to need to be a little bit bigger. But point being, this is going to get more energy throughout the dick than a massage gun will. What do you think of a collaboration with Renaissance Periodization? If it's actually legitimate, sure, why not? But I would like to get back up to, like, an actual athletic state before I get to it, because I let my lifting slack. But I doubt he'd be interested in working with me with my small sub count. I use my bath mate in the afternoon for 3 to 5 minute sets, and my air pump in the evening for 3 sets, 5 minutes. Is that good or too much? It's probably fine. Like, you just gonna need to pay attention to your erection quality. I would add in massage. I would add in, like, massage mechanics to, like, really cause the relaxation that you need to overexpand. But other than that, you're probably doing enough. And then Blue Fisher, would it be a good idea to wear a cock ring after pumping for only like 5 to 7.5 minutes instead of 10 minutes to further reduce the risk of lymphatic buildup? I mean, to me, like, 5 to 10 minutes is an argument, right? Like, okay, that makes sense. I know 10 minutes is when, like, that relaxation of the bloat, the tunica around the bloat, actually kicks in. But, like, 5 to 7.5 minutes, I don't really see the difference. And, like, if you're really worried about discoloration, there's something called fire goat rolls, where you can just go this along the sides of your D, and that'll break up the discoloration before it really has a chance to set. Johnny Fleming. Next time you saw someone to recover from an injury, I guess I overworked due to years of PE with no rest. I took 1 month off, and I still didn't resolve my EQ. Still is like 3 out of 10. So, like, your issues, you don't know what exactly the issue is, right? So, like, treating a neurological issue is going to be different than treating, like, a muscle sprain or strain in this case. So, like, once you figure out what the issue is, and, like, if you took time off, it most likely wasn't a muscle sprain. It's probably going to be a neurological thing that you need to fix, and that's going to be a different kind of treatment pattern, which I don't know much about, unfortunately. But, like, if you start with, like, neurological injuries, like nerve injuries, and research that and then apply it to your penis, you might have a lot better success. Okay, This Brutal Life. Your friend that sourced the H100 gel did not do the recommended treatment period of 6 to 12 months. Maybe that's why it did not work for him. Yeah, but, like, if he did it for 3 months, he should have saw a 5% gain if he saw people were seeing 22% gain in length in that same time frame, right? Like, it's not going to all happen on the last day or last month. It's going to be slowly progressive. Burner account. Is it safe to sit on the gray motor to massage the pelvic floor? I would not recommend any kind of, like, hardcore mechanical stuff to your taint to start. I would recommend just using your hands for 3 to 5 minutes twice a day. Loosen up the taint that way. All right, guys, 5 minutes. So I'll try to get through these really quick. Brutal Life. What are your thoughts on using the XS632, currently renamed the SNT6302, for PE, topical anti-LOX inhibitor that amyloids skin scarring and fibrosis. So like, you kind of answered your own question. It needs to get through the skin, and if it's causing all that effect to skin tissue, right, it's not going to really get to the penis. So like, it would need to get through the skin, need to get through the buccal fascia, and then to the tunica. And that sounds like a nightmare. So while it's possible it would work, I would not bet on it. I would probably stick to like an actual injectable version of anti-LOX, and that's a whole nother can of worms that I do not recommend. Boombo, follow up. You said your extender will hold your skin back from the mons pubis, but I heard you say Hank says it's real bad to put pressure in that area. I don't know exactly what you mean. Like, if you wear a cock ring behind your balls, that can put some pressure on a nerve down there. But like, this is not going to put pressure on that nerve nearly as much. It's more so the compression of the nerve that's the issue than like having something sit next to it, right? And then also, I have the Total Man extender, but it has a semicircle on the side of the base. I thought it was supposed to go under your D and balls, not over. So like, most extenders are worn in front of your balls, and that's going to help with the skin migration. Some people do like loop their balls in front of it for comfort, but doesn't necessarily mean it's best. Okay, John, Perv said that 2 months of deconditioning break can do like 80 to 85% of the tissue strength, but what can and can't do during this period? I mean, about PE and sexual life in general. Sex, masturbation, totally fine. PE, you should really limit to once a week at most, and like, we're talking like a fluff-up session of pumping. We do not want it to cause any strength at that current level. So like, basically your dick is trained to handle 10 pounds of tension over 40 minutes. If we come anywhere near close to that strength adaptation is going to stick around. So like, even if we're half of that, so like 5 pounds, 30 minutes, still going to cause some kind of strength adaptation there, and you're going to maintain at that point. So real quick, with Lord Thistlewick here, all you need to worry about is if the routine that you're doing is going to cause you to gain. You're only going to know that within the first 2 months of doing the routine, right? So like, I'm pretty sure you will see some results with that amount of work. You might need more. You could honestly need less. You won't know until you try it. And that's going to wrap it up here, guys, because I got to jump on a call and fix this all-day stretcher beforehand. So I should be streaming tomorrow unless they schedule another meeting for 2 p.m., but we'll find out then. Again, save your questions for tomorrow, and thanks for tuning in.